Hello there, I'm Tony Harmer, Senior Solutions Consultant for Digital Media here at Adobe UK. This is the second part of a two-part tutorial where we are producing this 3D book graphic using Illustrator, Photoshop and PDF Smart Objects. You can get a hold of the files used in this exercise by visiting my blog at blogs.adobe.com/TonyHarmer and searching Catch Up Working Smarter Part 3, and you'll find a link to those in there. In the previous movie we used Illustrator to build these components. This edge profile just here that I'm going to use to build the book itself, and then these two blends which will be used to help with texturing. So I'm just going to copy that edge profile and swap out to Photoshop, and I'm going to create a new document just here. So I'm going to create this one at 4000 here by 2600 at 144 ppi. The size doesn't really matter that much because as these things are inherently vector, they'll be able to change and just be re-rendered. So I'll just click OK like so, and then I'm going to paste in my edge here as a smart object. That way of course I can go back out to it and change it at any time should I need to do so. So I'm going to extrude that straight away by going to the 3D menu and choosing New 3D Extrusion from Selected Layer. I'm going to get this message saying I'm about to create a 3D layer and would I like to switch to a 3D workspace. That is a really good idea, so I'm going to say yes to that. And so you're going to see here the ground plane, and then you're going to see this widget that helps with moving the object, and down here in the bottom corner these widgets which will help with moving the 3D camera. The great thing with doing 3D in Photoshop is you only need one tool because everything is a function of the move tool. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to orbit the 3D camera. I'm just going to pull this down and to the left to sort of angle that like so. Round about there is good. Then I'm going to use this this four-directional arrow. Then I'm going to use this four-directional arrow to kind of move that down here a bit, and then I'll just zoom in using this dolly control just here. So there you go. So I'll pull down to zoom in and perhaps reposition that like so. So now I'm going to extrude that by pushing this outwards. I'm just going to go for something that looks sort of book-like in proportion. Great thing is this can all change. It's really simple to modify. So again I'm just going to shunt that around a little bit there and then just zoom in a bit more on that. Perfect, there we go. Much happier with that. So now I've got that, I can go about texturing it, and you'll see that as I move around I've got planes that are lighting up as I go. And so I'm going to click to select this end plane just here, and it's showing me in the properties inspector the material that's being used for this. Now materials are a bigger subject involving understanding these things here, but I'm really only worried about you actually getting the book result here. So I'm just going to change the diffuse texture, and first of all I'm going to come over to this small icon and click and then choose edit texture. And so this will open a smart object that is currently supplying that texture. Let's zoom in on this like so. And what you're actually looking at here is something called a UV. And this little mesh that you're seeing here just shows the polygons that are being used at the current time. And this is a guide. They don't appear anywhere else. That's just the way they are, just as a guide. And I'm going to swap out to Illustrator. I'm going to pick up this blend and copy it. Now I'm going to come back into Photoshop and paste that down as a smart object like so. And in fact that almost fits perfectly. I'm just nudging that with the keyboard into place, and I actually think that is pretty good. So I'm going to click the check mark on that. I'm going to close this PSB file and save that. And that texture will be being applied down here. Let's see if we can zoom in so you can see that. There you go. You can see the edges of the pages just there as the texture is applied. Lovely. I'll just zoom back out using Command 0 or Control 0 if I was on Windows. Now I'm going to go to this area just here. So I'm just going to target this, and I'm going to click on that to pick it up, go for the diffuse texture and edit that. Now this is a slightly bigger, more involved UV. And what you have to imagine is this is being seen for the purposes of drawing this as a selection of rectangles. And every rectangle that you get inside of 3D work is made of two triangles, because triangles make all of the 3D objects. Some two referred to as polygons or polys in there. Now this collection of lines getting denser in here, this is towards the spine of the book as it draws thinner and thinner rectangles going across and then back out. These thin edges here are the bits where you can see the pages, and this is the back of the book here, the bit that's on the ground at the moment that you can't currently see. So I'm going to do a couple of things here. First of all, I'm actually going to choose a background color for this. I'm just going to click out here, let's make this fairly light and choose sort of a papery color. I don't want absolute white in here, I want something that's just a little bit away from that. And then I'm going to use the Alt Backspace shortcut to fill with that color. You'll see that the guides there are unaffected. And now I'm going to place a smart object, so I'm going to link this so I can change it at any point, and then this will update in the Photoshop file. So I'll choose that, and I've got a PDF here with a couple of pages in it. I'm going to choose this first page, and I'm going to crop it to the trim box. That's the page trimmed size. In fact, if I do it to the art just for the moment, actually that's not going to shrink down. If I do bounding box, you'll perhaps see that change as it shrinks down, but I want the trim box, which is the paper size just there. So I'll click OK. That comes in as a smart object, and I'm just going to squash this over onto this side like so. Just there, that will do. And then I'm going to right click and choose rotate 180 degrees. Okay, that's fine as it is. I'm just going to check that at the top, and then I'm going to close this and go back out to the main document. Let's have a look at where that is. Perfect. You'll see that's just on that side like so. So we know we're in exactly the right place there. So I'm going to edit the texture again, and once more I'm going to place this as a linked file. I'm going to go for the same PDF, only this time choose the other page, making sure that trim box is still selected, and I'll just repeat that just here. So I'm just going to scrunch this down, goes in towards the middle just there. Don't worry about the distortion, that's all taken care of when it's actually rendered. And if I just rotate that by 180 degrees as well, perfect. Something else I can do just while I'm here, this is the edge of the page that I'm going to actually see inside of my rendering. So I'm just going to nip out to Illustrator, I'm going to pick up this blend and copy it, go back to Photoshop and paste, and then I'm just going to spin that around through 90 degrees. I'm holding down the Shift key, and I might actually just zoom in here so it's easier for me to see the underlying grid lines. There we go. I'm going to go to that edge just there, and that should be just about fine for this one, and I'll enable that check to complete that transformation. Close this and save it, and then you'll see that texture updating in there. In fact, if I zoom in again, you can just see the page edges going along just there. That might need a little bit of tweaking around to get that to match up perfectly, but do you know what, to the casual eye that would probably be just fine. So now we've got that, what we can do is we can actually change the lighting here inside of this file. So if I just click out for this object here, you can see I can get to this small marker on the left hand side, this infinite light 1, and when I click on it, it gives me this light widget. kind of pull that around. You can see how it's changing the lighting there, like so. So I might go for something a bit like that. So I've just got a bit of shadow showing on those two sides. Just pull that around just a shade there, like so. And I can change the intensity of this over here in the properties inspector. I'm just going to dial that down just a bit. It's a bit too much just there, I think, at the moment. And this area here is in too much shadow, so I'm going to add a fill light just as a photographer would do in the studio. I can do that at the bottom of the 3D panel just here. I'm going to click and choose a new infinite light there, and so that will add me the new light, and then I can kind of spin that around to where I want that illumination to come from, like so. And I think that, because it's a fill light, needs to be significantly less full on, so I'm going to drop that down like so. I might need to work between the two, clicking on their individual widgets to just pull the light around a bit until that kind of balances out like so, and change the angle. And there you are. So those things are done. So all I need to do now is to click this render icon just here. That will take a little while to do, and then I'll end up with the rendered file. Once I've got that, I can come back to the layers here, go to the background, and just change, add a bit of a background color there. Let's make something like that. There we go. And then fill that like so. And there we are. We're done.